every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction. I truly love you all. That's why I do what I do. No other reason in the world. So that's what you all should do, folks. That is a real key to surviving the mess that we're in. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Cultivate a genuine love for life being. Be genuinely grateful and thankful to the infinite creator every day for bringing you into being. I mean, come on, folks. Look around you. It's a pretty incredible world we have here. And life is just amazing, don't you think? I mean, especially when one considers the alternative. I mean, this is a lot better than that. Be thankful for the world. Be thankful for this world. I mean, we've survived this far, haven't we? And haven't you? You've survived this far. You may not have everything you want, but really you've got everything you need in order to complete that which you came here to do. Give thanks for that.
You've got to go into this battle with love in your heart. But I think meditation is important. Meditation is good for inner strength. It's good for knowing who and what you are, discovering that, figuring out how to work with your own emotions and how to work with your own energies and how to work with your own powers. Because we're all incredibly powerful, folks. We all have these incredible energetic connections if we can just be aware of them. But I still believe in the human spirit. I still believe in the human race. I still believe that there's a peaceful way through this, because I believe that once people remember who and what they are, they'll just see how easy it would be to change things. So that's always been the focus. Don't allow yourself to believe anything. If you're going to believe in anything, believe in your own sovereignty, believe in your own freedom, believe in your own power to make change, your own power to have the idea that could change the world. No matter what your status in society, no matter whether you're rich or poor or physically able or not, you could still have the idea that could change the world, because everything that we see here is all based on ideas, just an idea. But anyway, folks, the journey goes on. It's an interesting journey, and it seems to have a great many twists and turns, and who knows where it's going to go next. One hell of a ride, that's for sure.
And when we break out of these belief systems, which are often related to insecurity, because it's like you want to belong to a group because you feel more secure, or you want to have a belief system because, oh no, I found out what I believe now and I can leave that alone and get on with my life and all that stuff. But when the people used to come around my house as a kid and used to say to me, Mother, what religion are you? She thought, we're Christian. No, we're not. No, we weren't. But it was something that, oh yeah, I'll be a Christian because then I've got to be something. Well, we haven't. We can be all that is, has been, and ever will be. We don't have to be a Christian. We don't have to be a Muslim. We don't have to be a Jew. We don't have to be a Hindu or any of the bloody prisons of the mind. We can be all that is. And it's a thing that I say sometimes. If people can tell me what they believe, if they can give a name to what they believe, they're in a prison. Because we just are. Everything just is. It's not just, I think, therefore I am, computer level, or I compute, therefore I am. It's I am, therefore I am. That's the real level of being. I am all that is, has been, and ever will be. I do not need to put a name to what I believe, because I just am. I am the force with no name and all names. I am all things and I'm no things. I'm everything and nothing. I'm everywhere and nowhere. Because I am all that is, therefore I'm all possibility. And when we do that, these neurons, pathways and networks stop firing off in relation to the rigid belief system and filtering reality for us. So now we can open to all possibility instead of being stuck with one or two possibilities called belief systems, which hold us in servitude and limitation for entire lives in these vibrational boxes that therefore come from these belief systems. We can be honest with ourselves as we break out of these belief systems. Crucial. Cognitive dissonance is not a bad thing. It's the way it's used that puts us in a state of enslavement because of it. If we are honest with ourselves, people that have belief systems of various kinds, who say, when I come into contact with experience or information that challenges my belief system, I'm not going to hold on till my knuckles turn white. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to look at this, and if it makes sense, I'm going to change the way I see the world. Cognitive dissonance then is a positive thing, and we move on. You know, people get embarrassed because they believe something and then suddenly realize that it's actually a nonsense. But they shouldn't get embarrassed, because we live in a world where from cradle to grave we are pummeled with manipulation to believe things and take on belief systems that allow the few to control the many. Instead of being embarrassed when we suss it, we should be celebrating that we've sussed it, because we're no longer in servitude. And we can break out of these schizophrenias where, according to Doublethink and Orwell, we take on these contradictory views like war is peace and all the rest of it. Again, honesty, and say, hold on, that doesn't make sense. Because go back to consciousness. Does consciousness do war? No, consciousness does peace in its pure state. Therefore, anything that is being justified for war and slaughter and pain and suffering is by definition unsupportable. So instead of saying, well, we have a war and I'm going to explain it away because I'm fighting for peace, rubbish. War, end of story, no, unjustifiable, and therefore I'm not going to justify it under any means. Then the schizophrenias start to fall. We're not justifying the unjustifiable anymore. We're saying it's not justified, no longer has my support. And now the schizophrenia is breaking because we're no longer supporting two contradictory things. We're taking a point of view of consciousness, peace, love, caring, empathy, compassion, and anything that is contradictory to that, we're not interested in. The schizophrenia starts to break up. And all these things are breaking down it's like a web that we're caught in. The strands pulled off as we start to break down the contradictions of being honest with ourselves in terms of our belief system. And we move from consciousness or to consciousness from mind.
Now, if you have a negative thought or an unhappy thought or a self-depreciating thought, you turn on a different set of circuits and a different combination, a different sequence and a different pattern that produces a different level of mind. And the brain then begins to make a different batch of chemicals that signals the body for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking, negative or unhappy or unworthy. So the moment you begin to feel the way you think, because the brain is in constant communication with your body, you begin to think the way you feel, which makes more chemicals for you to feel the way you think, and then you think the way you feel, and then you feel the way you think, and then you think the way you feel. And some people do this for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Now, the redundancy of that cycle over time creates what I call a state of being. And a state of being is when your mind and body are working together, or your thoughts and feelings are aligned to a concept. So thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And as people get caught in this cycle of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking, over time, they condition their body to memorize that emotion as well as the conscious mind. And whenever the body knows as well as the mind, that's called a habit. A habit is when your body is the mind. Now, 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, set of emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, attitudes that run just like a computer program. So 5% of your conscious mind begins to work against 95% of what you've memorized. So the person wants to think positively, but they're feeling negatively. They want to create their dream board, and put up their future life, but they feel unworthy. That's mind and body in opposition.
If you suffer from time excusitis, the cure is simple. Mind you, it's not necessarily easy, but it is simple. Here it is.
Resolve now never to say, I don't have the time or I'm too busy. Always seek ways to accommodate new challenges in your job or special assignments or extra time with your family. You may find yourself slipping back into the excuse from time to time, but if you do, catch yourself. When you're about to say, I don't have time, change your mind. It often helps to budget your time, just like you might budget your money. Sit down and write out a time plan. Strive to become that busy person that people seek out for special challenges, instead of another victim of excusitis. Remember, everyone has the same amount of time. The difference is in how you use it.
Look, with my health the way it is, I just do what I can to get by. I'm not about to press my luck and give myself a heart attack.
Another prominent form of excusitis is health. This ranges all the way from the chronic, I don't feel good, to the more specific, I've got such and such wrong with me. So-called bad health in 1,000 different forms is used as an excuse for failing to do what a person wants to do, failing to accept greater responsibilities, failing to make more money, failing to achieve success. Millions and millions of people suffer from health problems. But is this really a legitimate excuse in most cases? Consider for a moment the other side of the coin. The people who become fabulously successful in spite of health problems and who didn't use health as an excuse.
Franklin D. Roosevelt was confined to a wheelchair much of the time by polio, but he still served nearly 4 terms as president. John F. Kennedy was hampered by severe and sometimes crippling back pain, but he never publicly complained. Itzhak Perlman, one of the world's great violinists, has to walk with the aid of crutches. Arthur Ashe, the tennis champion, had his athletic career tragically foreshortened by heart trouble, but he went on to great success in business. There are scores of successful people in every walk of life who suffer from diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and other so-called debilitating diseases, but they don't use them as excuses. The point is simply that your physical condition doesn't need to hold you back, and for most people, health is simply no excuse for lack of success. Doctors will tell you that the perfect specimen of the human animal simply doesn't exist. There's something physically wrong with everybody. Many people surrender, in whole or in part, to health excusitis, but successful people don't.
The more you worry about your health, the worse you're going to feel. Not only that, but the more you tell other people about your bad health problems, the worse you're going to make them feel too. You see, whenever you tell someone, I feel rotten today, or I have a headache, you're really telling them, I'm a little bit dead today. And nobody, but nobody, wants to be around a dead person. The plain truth is, there are only 2 people in the world who really want to hear you complain about your health problems. One is your doctor, and the other is your mortician. Nobody else cares. Nobody else wants to hear about your bad health. Now look at the other side. When you tell someone, I feel great, look what happens. First, you make yourself feel better. Try it right now, and you'll see what I mean. Say out loud, I feel great. Come on now, say it. I feel great. It's impossible to say that and not actually feel better. Second, you make the other person feel better when you tell them how great you feel. And third, you make them feel better toward you. When anyone asks me how I'm feeling, I automatically tell them that I feel so good I can hardly stand it. And if I felt any better, I'd be worried. This makes people laugh, but it also makes me feel better, because how you feel is a product of how you think you feel. So now's the time to cure yourself from the disease of health excusitis forever. Here's how to do it.
The vaccine against health excusitis comes in 4 doses. First, refuse to talk about your health. Talking about your bad health is like putting fertilizer on weeds, and besides that, it bores people. Success-minded people defeat the tendency to complain about their health. Second, refuse to worry about your health. If you have a problem, see your doctor, but don't worry about it. It won't make things any better. It will just make things worse. Third, be genuinely grateful that your health is as good as it is. Remember the old saying, I felt sorry for myself because I had no shoes, until I met a man who had no feet. There's always somebody worse off than you are, so be glad for the good health that you do have, and don't dwell on your health problems. Finally, remind yourself that it's better to wear out than to rust out. Life is yours to enjoy 24 hours a day. Don't waste it. Don't pass up living by thinking yourself into a hospital bed.
People ask, hey man, these kids, man, it's rough dealing with them. That's right. That's right. You think peer pressure happened overnight? We went through peer pressure. I remember as a kid, some guys said, hey Les, me and another fellow named Willie Lowe, we were going home. Hey man, we're going down to Goulds, man, and knock off a grocery store. I said, look here, I don't want no part of that. I'll see y'all later. Say, y'all chicken. I said, that's all right, you say whatever you want. Low star. I'm not chicken, man, don't call me chicken. Then why don't you come? We didn't even ask you to come into place, man. All you do is just drive the car, that's all. I don't know how to drive that good. Well, we're trying to get Les to come. He's chicken. Hey, I'm not driving nothing, all right? Willie, don't care about what they say, man. Leave him alone. You want to go do it? You find somebody else to drive, or you drive yourself. Come on, Willie, man. Pull him, he stop. I ain't chicken. All I got to do is drive? Yeah. I said, Willie, that sounds simple, man. Don't go, man. He went. And the next day, we read the newspaper where when they robbed the store, when they came out running to a car, the merchant, the man who owned the store, came out just shooting wildly, and he hit the driver in the head. So peer pressure didn't just start in the 90s or the 80s. It's difficult, it is challenging for kids right now. And it's going to take some easy, simple methods to help bring them out of this madness, this insanity. No. Is it hard? Yes. Let's look at what we've been doing. What has worked? What has not worked? Let's look at where we want to go. What is it that we want to produce? What is it that we want to create for our young people? And as we think about that, start experimenting with different methods and techniques to create and to produce that. And begin to believe that it's possible through our commitment, through our vision, through our determination, our relentlessness. Because of our belief, it's possible that we can reduce the teenage homicide rate, the teenage pregnancy rate, the dropout rate. That it's possible, looking at what kind of world are they going to be in? As we look at the global economy, that as we begin to use our collective will and genius and resources, it's possible that we can create an educational system that not only will test their minds with information and facts and figures, but would teach them how to think and be creative. And what does it mean to be a human being and to value human life? And how do you make relationships work? How do you bounce back from adversity? It's possible that we can give them a curriculum that will give their lives a sense of purpose and direction and meaning, and teach them how to begin to know and operate on a higher level of being, where they become assets to our society rather than liabilities. What if we leave here with that kind of consciousness that it's possible, as opposed to saying we have to write this generation off, that it's possible that we were born for such a time as this and that, that maybe someone here has the idea or the method or some plan of action or an approach that can resolve many of the problems that we're facing with young people today. Whatever we have to do to save our children, it's worth it.
Now, we bring more to the next week. We bring more to the next month. We bring more to the next year. If you follow this absorb, respond, and reflect. I said to my father, when he was about to turn 76, his 76th birthday, I said, dear father of mine, can you imagine what it's going to be like to gather up the last 75 years of your life and invest them in your 76th year? What a difference of philosophy, rather than just hanging on one more year. Gather up 75 and invest them in the next one. Gather up the last 6 years and invest it in the next year. See, that's so powerful in communication, which we're going to study soon. So powerful. So consider this. 1, the ability to absorb. 2, the ability to respond. 3, the ability to reflect. Here's number 4, develop the ability to act. Take action. Not hasty if it isn't required, but don't lose much time. Here's the time to act. When the idea is hot and the emotion is strong. That's the time to act. You say, Mr. Ron, I'd like to have a library like yours. See, if you feel strong about that, what you got to do is get the first book and then get the second book. Before the feeling passes and before the idea gets dim, action pronto. Action immediate. Action as soon as possible. Because if you don't, here's what happens. We call it the law of diminishing intent. We intend to when the idea strikes us. We intend to when the emotion is high. But now if you don't translate that into action fairly soon, now the intent starts to diminish. And a month from now it's cold. A year from now, it can't be found. So act. Set up a discipline when the emotions are high and the idea is strong and clear and powerful. That's the time to set up the discipline. Somebody talks about good health and you're stirred. Say, right. You need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes and before the emotion gets cold. Go for the book. Start the library. Start the process. Fall on the floor. Do some push-ups. Action. Got to take action. Otherwise, the wisdom is wasted. Otherwise, the emotion soon passes. Unless you put it into a disciplined activity. Capture it. Disciplines is called how to capture the emotion and how to capture the wisdom and translate it into equity. Discipline. Now here's what's important about disciplines. All disciplines affect each other. In fact, here's a good philosophical phrase. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone. Don't be naive in saying, well, this doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. There are some things that matter more than others, but there isn't anything that doesn't matter. Okay. We all pity the man who says, well, this is the only place I let down. Not true. Key to take home. Every letdown affects the rest of your performance. Every letdown affects the rest. This is part of the educational process on personal development. If you don't take the walk around the block, you probably won't do the apple a day. If you don't do the apple a day, you probably won't start building your library. If you don't build your library, you probably won't keep a journal, and you won't take pictures, and then you won't do this, you won't do wise things with your money, won't do wise things with your time, won't do wise things with your possibilities and relationships, and the first thing you know, 6 years of that accumulated, and we say you have messed up. So the whole key to reversing that process now is to start picking up these disciplines. Now here's the positive side. Every new discipline affects the rest of your disciplines. Every new one affects the rest. That's why action is so important. The least action, the smallest action. Take it. Because when you start accomplishing and the value starts to return from that one action, it'll inspire you to do the next one and the next one and the next one. You start walking around the block, it'll inspire you to get an apple. Get an apple, it'll inspire you to get a book. Get a book, it'll inspire you to get a journal. Get a journal, it'll inspire you to grow, develop some skills. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack and set up the new. And you've started a whole new life process. Key. Also, one more thought on discipline. Here's the greatest value of discipline: self-worth, self-esteem. People are teaching self-esteem these days, but they don't connect it to discipline. The least lack of discipline, and it starts to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to just ease up a little bit, right? The slightest lack of doing your best starts to erode the psyche. Instead of doing your best, doing just a little less than your best. Sure enough, you say, well, it's just going to affect my sales. No, it's going to affect your consciousness. It's going to affect your philosophy. Now you've begun in the slightest way to affect your own philosophy. Here's the problem with the least neglect. Neglect starts as an infection, and if you don't take care of it, it becomes a disease. And one neglect leads to another. And the worst of all, when neglect starts, it diminishes our self-worth, our self-confidence, our self-value. You say, well, how can I get back my self-respect? I'm telling you, you don't have to go to 29 classes. All you have to do is start the smallest discipline that now corresponds to your own philosophy. Like I should, and I could, and I will. No longer will I let neglect stack up on me so that I will have the sorry scenario 6 years from now, giving some excuse instead of celebrating my progress. That's the key to discipline, okay? Let's get kids involved in the least of discipline. One more, and then another one, and then another one, and then some more. And the first thing you know, you're starting to weave the tapestry of a disciplined life into which you can pour more wisdom and more attitude and more strong feeling, more faith and more courage. Now you've got something, a vessel in which to put it. And now the equities start to flow. And the early return, I'm telling you, if you'll start this process, the early return will have you so excited. You'll commit yourself to this strategy for the rest of your life. You'll never go back to the old way. Join a new crowd. Join a new group. The disciplines to do. Take action.
There are people in your life who are just hanging on to you, pulling you down, negative, don't believe. They just they like dead weight. You gotta let them people fall off, man. You gotta let these people go, because when you get rid of them, then you can orbit to where God wants you to go. So that's what you have to remember about the journey, that you are going to lose people along the way. The whole time you're going to lose a lot of people. So I hope that makes sense to you. You know, when I speak, I don't use paper. You know, I don't write and then talk. I only come if people will allow me to say what's in my heart. You know, I don't like writing it down. I know my life. If you ask me about my life, I don't gotta write that down. I've been living this the whole time, so I speak. I don't want to offend anybody. I speak. I'm kind of loud, you know. See, like the baby, I'm kind of loud, you know. And so that's how I talk the way I talk, because I'm passionate. I want young people to get to where God has planned for you. And that's why I'm so passionate, because you can be great, but you have to make the decision to be great. This is a decision. God gives us the power of choice. You get to decide if you want to work at the bank, if you want to ride a bus, if you want to sail the ocean. You get to make decisions. You've got to make smart decisions for your life, but you have the power. And when you include God, You have the power to be anything. You can be great or you can be nothing. You have to make the decision. If you like being nothing, it's okay. It's okay. I don't want to be with you, but you can make the decision. But what you cannot do is allow your friend next to you who has decided to be nothing to cause you not to be nothing. That's what you got to be careful of. If your friend don't want to do the things that's necessary, you should stop being his friend.
I started out in door-to-door sales. By mistake, but I did, and it changed my life. I admire what you're doing. I want you to understand that. I know what you're doing. I did it for years. You can track back a $500 million net worth for me now to knocking on doors when I was a 21-year-old kid. So those of you guys in this room with a dream to do something great with your life, and you're kind of average and ordinary, maybe you're not the smartest dude in the world or the biggest dude in the world, but you want to do something great with your life, maybe I can be an example of that. Because I know what it's like not to feel great about what you're doing, to doubt whether you're doing this. And I just got to tell you something. I'm an example this stuff pays off. Okay? So I'm going to take you through some of those keys that I went through. Actually, I started knocking doors kind of by mistake. I got recruited into the financial services business. There's a bunch of these old, stale financial dudes in there. And they kept telling me, hey, our average market, we want married people who own a home, who have kids. Middle America for our products, right? And I kept thinking, how come you don't just go where they live? Like, if they have a house and we know the neighborhoods they live in, why don't we just go see these people? Why are we going through calls and all this roundabout easier stuff? Why don't we just knock on their door and say something? Can you guys teach me what to sell? Well, they thought that idea was hilarious. Right? Who actually go knock on a door? Like, well, I would. I just wanted to win. How many of you relate to that? You just want to win. I don't care what the hell it took. If it was legal, ethical, and moral, I wanted to win. And so to dick around with me, like, so what's the script? Give me the script. This dude's name was Frank. I won't say his last name because they're all out of business now. But I remember Frank and him laughing. He's like, oh, because we were in the life insurance business. He goes, best thing to say, reverse psychology. Just when you knock on the door, when they open the door, go, you don't want to buy any life insurance, do you? I was stupid enough to think that was the real script. They were dicking around with me at the time. So I went out on that Saturday and knocked on about 200 doors. And everybody that opened the door, this dumbass little kid, me, I'd go, hi, I'm Ed Milet. You don't want to buy any life insurance, do you? And the vast majority would go, no, bam, and shut the door in my face. But one of them that day, one of them said, matter of fact, I do. We just had some guy here that was trying to rip us off. We are trying to buy some life insurance, but I'm trying to find somebody ethical who can do it. I said, I'm your guy. I literally walked in their house and sold them the insurance that day. But we were in the recruiting business, so a lot of the people that said no to me, I'd say why, and they go, I ain't making enough money to buy any life insurance. I'd say, I'm glad you said that. Are you looking for an opportunity to make secondary income? 27 of them said yes. That Tuesday night at our recruiting meeting, I had 27 freaking guests there to hear about getting recruited because I knocked on 200 doors that day. There were only 30 people at the whole meeting. I had 27 of them. And my career started to transform because I was willing to do the things other people weren't willing to do. The other thing I figured out is I was in the math business. Most of you ain't figured this out yet. That's why you're not making what you can make. At the end of the day, you got to get in a bigger hurry. You got to see more people. You got to run larger numbers. If you're going to get to the top of your field and recruit more people, sell more people, you got to see more people. The flat matter is this is a competitive sport you're in. It may not feel like a sport, it's a sport. And for those of you that do more reps, win. More contacts, win. See more people, win. Y'all with me on that? Say yes. Yeah. See, you probably thought I was going to give you some like fluffy, I don't know nothing about selling speech. You got to run larger numbers, man. Hey, sister, you aren't running big enough numbers. You want to get to the big time? You want to get to the top of what you're doing? You got to run more numbers, see more people, recruit more people, and sell more people. Okay, that's the bottom line. You don't start to see more people, I'm going to smoke you. If I knock 200 a day and you knock 50, if I see 500 and you see 5, I don't care how good you think your script is, how great you are, how persuasive you are. You take a dude like me, I will smoke you.
It's possible you can get what you want. It's necessary. If you want it, you got to go into action. You got to be willing to experiment. You got to be willing to fail and to succeed. You got to be willing to form and to develop new relationships. It's you. It's on you. You got to make that happen. Nobody's going to bring it to you on a silver platter and say, here's your dream manifested. No, it's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's difficult. Yes, right. And it's worth it.
Where do you get your self-confidence? You can't buy it at the store, folks. You can't dress it up. You can't eat it. You can't buy it. You can't even manufacture it yourself. You have to go build self-confidence. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, okay? Because I remember being 25 years old, scared to death of people. 29 years old, started my speaking career, terrified of the people I had to go to. Didn't call on anybody for a year because I was literally frozen in fear. And one day somebody said something to me, dude, you need to handle your self-confidence issue. So I went and bought a suit, and I didn't feel any better. I went and bought a car, didn't feel any better about myself. I mean, I felt a little better for a second. Look, self-confidence is the only outfit you can't buy. This is an inside job. You got to study, you got to learn, you got to practice, and you have to do the hard things. Self-confidence comes from repeating experiences that are difficult. Same place courage comes from. You know, the guy that does something that's courageous is given the title of being courageous. It's not because he went and wore courageous. It's because he went and did something. Look, if you want to build self-confidence, you can listen to the subliminal tapes. It's not going to work. You can go do hypnotism. It's freaking ridiculous. You need to be more aware, more alert, and you need to do more. Some of the ideas that people are throwing at you guys right now to build your self-confidence, you're going to eat different and feel better. You're going to do this and feel... Look, you need to get in front of people. Do the things you're scared to do to get the self-confidence you want to have. Period. It's not on sale. It's not at Bloomingdale's, Macy's. It's not at Toyota. It's not on the radio, dude. It's an inside job. I can't help you with it. You got to take what I'm giving you in these blurbs, blabs, streams, scopes, cats, whatever you're calling it, the posts, the streams, the Instagrams. Hey man, I need to take that and start applying it in my life. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself feeling worse and worse and worse about yourself. You want to go walk on fire? Go do it. Is that going to build your self-confidence? I doubt it. Okay? I doubt it, man. Go spend $8,000 on a weekend. That will not improve your self-confidence. The only thing I know for sure that will change your sense of self is the actions you take getting in front of other people. Other people. People you don't know. People you're scared to talk to. You're sitting there trembling. Do your pitch until you don't tremble anymore. Self-confidence, an inside job. It's not a suit you put on. It's not a car you drive. This is not something you buy. This is something you develop.
When you just begin to do the things you tell yourself you're going to do, you begin to build self-confidence, which is this reputation with yourself. So ask yourself a question right now. What is one thing right now, one promise I can make to myself that I'm going to begin to keep starting this minute and begin to do it? It could be how often I'm going to pick up a book and read it. But you begin to stack things you commit to do, and then you deliver on them and you acknowledge them to yourself. You're in the process of building self-confidence. Why is that so important? Of all the athletes I coach, when my athletes are performing at their peak level, they're at their highest self-confidence level. In fact, I love when I watch some of the athletes I coach get interviewed and they kind of do this aw shucks, humble routine in their post-game interviews. Yeah, you know, just part of the team, you know, I could have done a lot better today. But inside, I know these people are incredibly self-confident people. Any of you athletes listening to this, you know this. The great athletes you know have incredible amounts of self-confidence. You have to believe in you when it's a battle, when you're a hitter against a pitcher, or when you're a quarterback against a defense, or you're a defenseman in the NHL against their best offensive player, or you're a golfer and you have to make a 9-foot putt to win a tournament, right? You better have self-confidence. In fact, the separator, more often than not at the highest level in sports, is not they're a better shooter or a better putter or throw the ball a little bit faster, because everybody throws hard in the major leagues nowadays, it seems, right? That separator's their self-confidence. It's true in being a parent. It's true in being a business person. It's true in every area of our life. The separator at the top levels is self-confidence. So now you have that first thing that you're going to commit to, that you're going to deliver on. Now, what I would ask you to do, that now that you've done that, is if you really want to build self-confidence, can you begin to extend that list of 5, 8, and 10 things that you are going to begin to do, that you commit to you, that you're going to do every single day to begin to stack that self-confidence? There's also this misconception from people that you are certain things, meaning some people have this misconception that I am what I possess. In other words, I am my possessions. And so they link their self-confidence to their possessions. And so they're constantly trying to acquire more and more possessions, thinking that's where they get their self-confidence from. That's how they're defined as a person. I am my possessions. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's a hollow way to try to gain self-confidence by possessing things. Nothing wrong with going for material possessions. I have all kinds of them. But I don't link my confidence to those possessions, nor am I deluded into thinking if I could just possess more things, then I'll feel better about myself. So this is a mistake. There's a flawed thought. Number one flawed thought, I am my possessions. Second flawed thought, I am my accomplishments. In other words, my self-confidence is only linked to what I accomplish. So because I haven't accomplished certain things, I don't have that certain title, that certain award, that certain recognition, I don't believe in myself. I'm riddled with self-doubt. I'm defined by my accomplishments. The difficult thing about that is now all your life you're going to have to accomplish more and more and more in order to feel self-confident and eliminate self-doubt. You are not your accomplishments. You are not your possessions. You are you. You are perfect. You are beautiful. You were born to do something great with your life.
Where does self-confidence come from? And this is the best advice I can give you on that. Not neglecting, first of all, the small daily disciplines. Self-confidence really comes from feeling good about yourself. And one of the best ways to feel good about yourself is at the end of the day to know that you poured it on. You did your best. If you conducted a meeting, you did the best you could. If you made a phone call, it was the best phone call you could possibly make. If you wrote a letter, it wasn't a casual letter, it was your best letter. At the end of those kind of days, when you feel good about yourself, self-confidence starts to rise. You know that if you can have this kind of a good day, you can have another one the next day, and those days become the weeks become the months, and the month becomes a powerful year. Self-confidence comes from the lack of neglect. If you will not neglect to do the small daily disciplines, that's where self-confidence comes from. Part of good health is self-confidence. I know I'm going to be healthy. I take the Herbalife products. I eat the apple a day. I walk around the block. I do the jogging on the beach. At the end of the day, when you've really poured it on and you've done all the stuff, self-confidence grows. That self-confidence affects your health, it affects your future, it affects your psyche. So this is true. One of the great powers is self-confidence. Self-confidence means willingness to do whatever it takes to achieve. Some people say, well, I'll do it for a little while and see what happens. You know, I'll try a couple of things. If that doesn't work, I'm out of here. And all of us know that that kind of person doesn't have much of a future. But if you're willing to do whatever it takes, if I have to learn a couple of things, I will learn those things. If I got to learn 5 or 6 things, I'll learn all 6. If I have to take an extra class, I'll take an extra class. If I've got to read the books, I'll read the books. If I have to consult with people who know more than I know, I will do the necessary consulting. Whatever it takes, I will do. That starts to develop unbelievable self-confidence. Self-confidence also comes from the ability to rise above your circumstances. To rise above what happens, the petty little things, the discouraging things that would sink everyone else's ship except yours, that would cause someone else to quit early in the day, but you keep going. That kind of willingness to overcome all circumstances, whether it's the little challenges or the big challenges. If you're willing to do that, I promise you, this kind of power will work for you, and in you, the variable, it'll make a difference.
I want you to remember this as well. There's a power to the way we use the 2 B's, our brain and our body. See, self-confidence can also be a state, a physical state. It's very difficult when you're moving your body, sitting up straight, breathing deeply, right? You're in that physical, strong state of being, right? Right after a workout, during a workout is when we feel our most confident because our body's at a peak state. One way to generate self-confidence is to move your body into a strong state of being. Move your body. Literally, movement creates confidence. If you think about some of the peak times of your life, whether that be the fun time you may be having having with your partner physically, intimately, or laughter, or peak performance running, right? Or your great accomplishments. Yes, there's a commonality of the way our body is moving at that time. If you think about the times when you're the least confident, it's usually when you wake up in the morning, isn't it? It's the most down, the most fearful, the most anxiety, or before you go to bed at night. These are two times most people experience the most amount of self-doubt, is right before bed and right when they wake up. Isn't that interesting? One of the reasons is because of how we're moving. We're laying down, we're hunched over, our breathing is shallow, there's no physical movement whatsoever. This creates a state of self-doubt right before we sleep, right when we wake up. Or if you're just kind of depressed or sick, self-doubt starts to kick in, doesn't it, right? Have you ever had an injury and you couldn't move like you'd like to? That stagnation of the body begins to create self-doubt and strips us of our self-confidence. So moving our body is a gateway to self-confidence. And then our brain as well. We have to take control of our thoughts. We have to scratch the negative ones when they come in and replace them with great ones. Now, I don't believe self-talk works all the time, but I believe saying, I am strong, I am good, I intend, I'm a good man, my intentions are pure, I'm a good person, I make a difference in the world, I'm kind, I'm gentle, I'm generous, I'm strong, I'm faithful. Beginning to repeat these thoughts to myself, and these words do generate self-confidence. I keep the promises I make to myself. I'm a man of my word. Begin to talk to yourself and think these thoughts. When you combine your brain and your body, you scratch the self-doubt. You lose those 4 stupid beliefs. I am my accomplishments. I am my possessions. I am what other people say I am, or I am what I look like. These are completely flawed beliefs. We scratch those. We scratch them. We understand the process of stacking self-confidence in our life. We know we are the content of our character. And lastly, give yourself some credit. Will you please? And I'm going to tell you where to give yourself credit. And that is in the area of your intentions. A lot of my confidence comes from the fact that I keep the promises I make to myself. I know my self-doubt are thoughts that were given to me when I couldn't even defend myself as a young little boy. I know that I'm not my accomplishments. I know I'm not my possessions. I know I'm not what I look like. And I know I'm not what other people say I am. I understand the process of building self-confidence. I scratch the negative thoughts in my life. But I can tell you this, the last place I get my confidence from is my faith and my intentions. See, I know I intend to do good. Not enough of you are giving yourself credit for your inherent goodness. And I mean this. You're special in that regard. You're perfect in that regard. Just ask yourself, what are your intentions? As an individual, as a man or a woman, do you intend to do good in the world? Do you intend to want to help people? Do you intend to be a light in people's lives? Do you intend to make a difference? Do you want to live a good life where you've helped change the world and change other people's lives? Have you ever just asked yourself that? Do you? Because if the answer to that is, I don't spend enough time thinking about how good my intentions are. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to do bad things. I don't want to take advantage of others. I really intend to do good. You know what? You need to give yourself more credit for the power of your intentions. There's a power in life of giving ourselves credit just for the intentions we have. Just ask yourself that. There's 2 types of people in life. There's the people who intend to do harm, to take advantage of people, to cheat, to cut corners, to cause hurt to others for what they think will be their own gain. Then there's people who want to be a light. They want to make a difference. They want to help. They want to contribute. They want to be somebody. They want to honor their God. They want to make a difference in the world, and their intentions are good. Too often in life, people with great intentions don't give themselves credit for how beautiful and wonderful those intentions are. And so today, just take this inventory of all the things that are wonderful about your intentions, and then just take an inventory of your faith. As a person of faith, I know that I'm favored. I know that God wants me to do good in the world. I know that I was made in His image and likeness. There's a power to that. There's a comfort to that. There's a confidence that comes from that.